Welcome to Military Spouse World 1-to-1, a weekday podcast featuring a military family shaker and mover, helping you navigate this amazing chapter in life. Here's your host, Dave Etter.
In this episode of Spouse World 1-to-1, we meet Tesha Jackson, a spouse mover and shaker. We're going to discuss Month of the Military Child with regards to Delaware. We'll dive into some mental health and talk about some smart parenting advice. Hello, Tesha. How are you doing?
I am good.
It's great to hear from you. We had fun on MSOI week, you, me, and Jessica, and all the other military spouses that were there in D.C.
Yes, it was so much fun. I had a blast.
You were there because you are a past Spouse of the Year for Dover Air Force Base. Is that correct?
Yes, I was.
Tell me about that. How did you get selected as 2016 Armed Forces Insurance Dover Air Force Base Spouse of the Year?
I was nominated by Jessica Salter. I volunteer a lot up at the school on base. My mission is to help military children and non-military children. If we make our future, the next generation better, then I think it'll help the lives of the generation after them. If we help our generations grow up to be better people, then we'll just make the world a better place.
And with military children being in a special breed of their own where they don't really have roots to speak of if they were born into the military and being moving from base to base and installation to installation, a whole different set of challenges for the emotional well-being and the general psyche of that individual. Your mission then is to make sure that they have the opportunity to excel in taking over this world when we get too old and decrepit to do it ourselves?
Exactly. And then think of where they're going to be going. They can be all over the place. Who knows where their roots are going to be set later on in life. And if their life is better than where they were before, and they can make a difference in somebody else's life, wherever they are, pay it forward. They can make a difference somewhere totally different from where we are.
What is Month of the Military Child? How did it come about, and how do you get to help?
A Month of the Military Child in Delaware, a couple years ago, we actually made it official that April 15th was the official day for Month of the Military Child. We actually celebrate it here.
Where there's lots of recognition.
The government even acknowledges it. They even have our student council go at the Senate House here.
Right. You can start ahead of time. You can start on April 1st, but you can go all the way through.
We start from the beginning at the school on base. April 1st, we start doing celebrations. We acknowledge that they go through more than most. So we do little tidbit throughout the month of different challenges that they go through, how we appreciate them, and different quotes, and who even like the famous people that are military that grew up in the military lifestyle, just so that they know that they're not by themselves, that they have people that back them.
Well, now you were saying when you were a kid, you had to help your mom run a DHS small group home. So you've been actively involved with helping kids ever since you were a little kid.
Yep. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and for my mom, she was a single mom for a little bit, for a little while. And so for her to be at home with us, she started doing in-home childcare. Since I was like 4, she was an at-home mom and then did in-home childcare. And so I've been around kids my whole life.
And the struggles of having to take care of them with a tight budget, having to determine who can do what, keeping them safe.
Yep.
You've been able to pass that on to families that are just starting out in the military.
So I know the struggles of having to budget to have a single family or a single income family on how to help a person that's working and trying to find childcare or to find somebody to help with their child as they're working, or even the opposite of somebody that wants to stay at home with their child and their husband is working, or vice versa, their wife is working and they want to stay home with their child, on how to learn how to budget so that can work.
Well, what's the number one tip on budgeting that you give out that people ask you about that seems to be the most prevalent problem, if you will, or solution? What's the number one thing so far that you've been able to tell people?
Most people, they want to buy toys for their kids.
Yeah, no kidding. Seen that.
Your kids, they want you time. They want time with you, and you have stuff in your house that you can make and have your kids play with that you don't have to go out and buy them all these electronics for them to be smart or for them to play with or need to have.
You might have to when they become teenagers, but up till then.
Yes, but until then, when you're staying at home with your baby or with your toddler, even before they go into kindergarten, you have stuff at your house that you can make and have them play with. I just had a little child over at my house that I was helping with, and I made an activity that I got the supplies for at the dollar store, which I made. All the supplies cost like $5, but the activity alone cost me under $1 to make. And it was just a mix and match, an activity to help with the pencil grip and matching the colors to the right color. And it was clothespins and colored tape, and you matched the clothespins to the color on the tape of around the paper.
Oh, how cool.
And that entertained the child for an hour.
I remember when my wife and I, before she got into the Army, in my hometown, we moved from one location to another because we needed a slightly bigger house. Because that means the family grows, you need to get larger houses. And I picked up this washer or a dryer box. We threw all of the lighter stuff into it and tossed it in the back of the pickup truck and drove it to the next place. But, what do you do with the box afterwards? I mean, you don't want to just tear it down. And then I had the idea, turn it upside down, cut a hole in it. It's a door. Cut some little squares in their windows and let the kids play. Gave them markers, and they decorated the inside of that box and played with it until it collapsed a good 4 or 5 months later. A cardboard box.
Yep.
I mean, my dog is like that. I bought him expensive toys, and what does he like best? An old dish towel that he has torn up and worn into tatters, and that's his favorite toy.
Oh, yes. And then the other one is half my house is either Goodwill finds or thrift store finds. I mean, you can go to those stores, and even if you want to go to the ritzy-ditzy areas that have Goodwills, go to those ones if you want to find nice stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can get them dirt cheap. You can get the nice stuff there, too. And that's how I get half my stuff. And you don't have to buy it brand new. It looks brand new when you go get it.
What other kind of things do you pass on to these new military spouses that show up at Dover?
Reach out to other spouses, especially new ones that are looking. There's mom groups here that help, and they switch on and off for babysitting. I'll watch your kid if you watch mine, and you don't have to pay. It's more, just switch on and off to help so you have time with your spouse. I have a group for our street, but it's opened up for more than our street to help know your neighbors.
Oh, that's a neat idea.
We try to do block parties, and like on Halloween, try to feed the SPs, the walk around.
Right.
And we feed them, and I feed the people, and then we do like cake and stuff because I have 2 October birthdays, so it's we do cake and party, and the kids do have fun and do trick-or-treating. It's Sugar Fest here, but it's fun, and then people get fed.
Instead of doing it in the backyard on housing, you do it on the street. We do it all in front.
Everybody gets to know everybody, and then we try to invite everybody, and the SPs get fed, so they're not just walking around watching everybody else have fun.
That's an amazing idea. You need to write that up, and we'll post that somewhere. That's a great idea. Maybe you ought to write a book, kind of like newspaper column that was made into mini books called Hints from Heloise. These could be tips from Tesha.
How to get involved in your base.
Absolutely. Why not? And a lot of these things, I've seen them tried. I've seen some that have failed, but I've seen most of the ones that work, and they all are very similar. But I forgot about them. If it was in writing in front of me, maybe I'd remember them, especially if it was made easily available. You now have a task. I'm tasking you.
Okay. You task me to it.
Make a book. Well, I mean, you and I were good friends. We had a blast in Washington, D.C. We got to go see Senator Warren. That was amazing. A whole lot of fun. I didn't realize who Orrin Hatch was until well after, we encountered him in the hallway. He is President Pro Tem of the Senate. He's like 4 heartbeats away from the presidency.
No.
That was...
And we saw him. Oh, my goodness.
I know. And we talked to him.
He has your card.
Yes, he has my card. And he knows you and Jessica now.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
He obviously knows Jacob, so...
I'll have to tell Jacob, get us in there again.
Well, the reason, and I know the reason we went there was for mental health awareness within the military families, and that's something you seem to be pretty well versed in. Can you give us insights?
I have an anxiety disorder. Before we moved to Dover, I met Stephen at my home state in Arizona, so I was having issues moving away. I go to see my doctor on base, and they made it into a big deal that I was asking for help and, saying I needed to see somebody. And the doctor there was like, well, this is going in your chart. And I'm like, I don't care. If they're saying this to a spouse, what are they saying to the military members that are asking for help?
When it comes to, in the military, to be told that by primary care manager or mental health care specialist, to the military member, that really doesn't make a bit of difference because the military is no longer allowed to use that as a way of saying you're not fit, you're not qualified. However, for spouses, on the other hand, if that goes into your medical record and you apply for something that's going to require that you have a physical that's with a doctor that they recognize and recommend, your health records will release those health records to that particular doctor so you can get the job. Voila. You have a mental condition and they may not hire you because of it.
I was just like, oh my goodness.
That's why he said it. He was giving you fair warning. He's putting a mark that some people might say is a stigma when actually it's not. It's very helpful. It's good because it helps you and anybody else that this happens to. It helps you find the answers and solutions to help you lead what is a more comfortable life.
I'm going to be an at-home mom right now, and we'll see if later on, if it's going to happen, it's going to, I'll work with it then. But I would rather see somebody and get help if I can, and then...
Now you champion mental health amongst the spouses and the kids, obviously, because of helping out with kids. Been able to make good progress?
I think I have. I'm trying to get it out there and help as many people as I can. Be a voice to those that aren't wanting to stand up or are too afraid to.
Can you use some help?
I will take as much help as I can, and as many people that will back me up to be brave enough to get out there, because I tend to get scared.
Well, how can people get a hold of you and offer their help, their assistance, and maybe you can form a good coalition? What's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
The easiest way is email, because with being with 4 kids, and this next year I'm going to be the co-president of the PTA at the school.
Sweet.
I'll be busy up at the school, so email is obviously the best way right now.
Okay. My
email is Tesha Jackson 4@gmail.com.
And that's no periods or anything, just TESHA Jackson 4, the number, at Gmail. Okay.
Gmail.com. And that one goes straight to my phone, so I'll get it right when I can check my phone.
There you go. Well, Tesha, thank you for joining us on Spouse World 1-to-1.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Military Spouse World 1-to-1 is a BDE Productions podcast. The views and opinions of the host or any of the guests are not that of BDE Productions or sponsors. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to Spouse World 1-to-1.